Look at this comparison. Who do you think is an old school bodybuilder here? And who is a modern one? But before revealing it, the Olympia 2025 left many questions. Does Derek really deserve it? Who should have won if not him? Blah blah. But there is only one thing that really matters. And this topic has brought up many times in the past few years. So nowadays, many people compare modern bodybuilders with the old school bodybuilders, and usually it's not the favorite of modern guys. Some can say that is just back in the days kind of talk. Or is it? So, does modern bodybuilding suck? And if it does, why? I'll try to be as neutral as possible. So, you can find plenty of those kind of comparisons, and you can see that usually old school bodybuilders appear much more, as people say, conditioned. But is it really true? So, this is the comparison from the beginning of the video. Numbers 1, 3, 4, and 8 are modern guys, and 2, 5, 6, and 7 are the old school ones. Boom. Hold on, man, it doesn't make any sense. They look identical to me. Yeah, kinda. And it's the point, but there's another thing to consider. You can find plenty of both modern and old school bodybuilders footages where they look, let's say, not really good. Plenty of footages when they look decent. But when people claim that it's just you use only the best photos from the past and blah blah blah, it's not objective, because there are footages where old school bodybuilders look absolutely amazing. But there are absolutely no footages where modern bodybuilders will look like this. And yeah, you can find some kind of footages, but as you see, they are usually severely photoshopped, and it's all about editing, color correction, sharpness, and on and on and on. In most of the cases, old school bodybuilders indeed look better. But what is the point? Why? First counter-argument that people use to defend modern bodybuilders is they just had poor quality cameras and the lighting was better. Like, first of all, do you really think that in modern Olympia tournaments they can't get a proper lighting? Like, what? Doesn't make sense, absolutely. And the second, poor quality cameras. Isn't it that a better quality camera will have better depth, will show more details? No? Like, what is the point? Okay. Imagine for no reason a poor quality camera makes you leaner. Okay. Why can't you use the same logic when you talk about 70s and the 80s era bodybuilders? They used even worse quality cameras, but can you say that Ronnie Coleman or Kevin Liveroni looked less conditioned and less leaner and less muscular than Arnold? So it's clearly not the case. But what's the matter then? Is it all about conditioning? Even the greatest of all time said so.
I don't see it.
Really? Meaning they wouldn't be able to compete in your era at all?
Nah. Conditioning is not the same. Me, Flex, Kevin, and Sean, guys like that, you like, whoa, it's a big difference.
But here I am asking you a question. What is conditioning? It is how much body fat you have and how much water you retain. So, if you compare body fat percentage in modern bodybuilders versus old school bodybuilders, you'll see that they have roughly same body fat percentage. So even if old school bodybuilders were a little bit leaner, it simply won't change the picture that much. So what is going on then? You probably have seen those edits, sorta, bodybuilding now versus then. And there's always a bunch of comments, sorta, they look like mafia kingpins, villains, all this vibe, style. Yeah, I get it. But besides this, what is the difference? Can you catch it? So modern era bodybuilders, they all have much more bloated faces. So it seems like there is something wrong with steroids intake nowadays. And no, I'm not saying that back then they used to take less steroids. It seems like there's just something wrong is happening. And second, it might be a good indicator that modern bodybuilders just abuse growth hormone. Of course, 20-30 years ago they already used growth hormone, but maybe it was not that much. So I'm not an expert in pharmaceuticals, but it seems like modern era bodybuilders just retain more water. And it's not just about something with steroids and growth hormone, I think, but also about training. Because modern bodybuilders usually stick to machines, all these cookie cutter exercises, they don't move that much weight in general. And even if they do something heavy, usually it's some dumbbell press. Unlike old school era guys who gravitated more to free weights and basic compound movements. And this is really important because this strength training forces your body to adapt to it. And one of the ways to adapt and get stronger is to build real muscle fibers. But if you just take lots of steroids, eat 5,000-6,000 calories a day, 500-600 grams of protein per day, you go to a gym and just do those cookie cutter 10 kilo lateral raises and on, this hypertrophy will not come from building real muscle fibers. It will come primarily from water. So you will retain much more water. Maybe this is also a reason why modern era bodybuilders don't look as conditioned, because their muscles are not as dense. And overall, this approach, this kind of old school philosophy that I heard from some bodybuilders is that if you take steroids, you gotta work those steroids out. So for instance, if you want to take more steroids, you have to train harder. I don't know, guys, maybe this is also a reason, and maybe if you take lots of steroids but don't exercise as hard as you should, something really wrong happens with your body. You can also mention the fact that old school bodybuilders used to do lots of cardio, literally hours each day. And maybe just following a cut-in diet is not enough. So you see, it's a very complicated topic, and I won't say that everything that is said in this video was 100% correct. It's just a hypothesis. But this is the only reasonable explanation that I can come up with. So I think that bodybuilding stopped its developing in the end of the 90s, and since then, everybody was just chasing mass, size, sacrificing the quality, because human body has its limits. And yeah, you can get theoretically bigger abusing more steroids, taking more, but overall you look worse. And bodybuilding is not about who's bigger, because if it were, somebody like Hafthor Bjornsson or Brian Shaw would be the greatest bodybuilders of all time. And here's why I think people rate so high bodybuilders like Sunbady, Levroni, Dillett, who didn't even win Mr. Olympia. Can you imagine it? So the last 25 years, bodybuilders have been getting bigger and bigger, but they completely forgot about quality. And it all has got us to a point where the most popular bodybuilder in the world is not even a Mr. Olympia winner. Somebody like Chris Bumstead, Sam Sulek, but definitely not Derek Lunsford or other Mr. Olympia competitors, which is kind of weird. So if you have something to say, write down a comment on this very complicated topic, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you later.